What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some absolute insanity as I attempt to win in the Go Battle League with 60 of the most attack-weighted Pokemon in the entire game. Of course, attempting something like this in the Open Great League is next to impossible, as the top meta Pokemon are just too strong and versatile for a lot of these Pokemon to beat, even with a typing advantage. But in the Remix Cup, where the top 20 Pokemon are banned, this challenge becomes slightly more achievable. Now I say top 20, there are actually only 19 banned Pokemon, as for some reason the official list has Togekiss banned twice, so I'm hoping that gets amended quickly and whatever pick 20 was supposed to be does also get banned. I would personally love it to be Wigglytuff. I don't know how it managed to escape a ban, but Wigglytuff was by far the biggest problem for most of the teams that I ran in this video. Anyways, back to the video. I have a roulette wheel with 60 of the most attack weighted Pokemon in the game, with the shadow damage bonus also taken into account. Now for each team I'm going to be spinning the wheel 3 times in a row, and I'll have to just use whatever the wheel selects for me, meaning some of these teams might actually be kind of decent, but other teams will be absolutely atrocious. Now, I can guarantee you will not see another GBL video like this anywhere else on YouTube, so if you appreciate the work that went into this, the resources that went into building all of these terrible Pokemon, and the skill to actually pull off wins with almost every single team, please make sure you leave a like and hype up the video, and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. I can see that less than 50% of my viewers across the past 28 days are actually subscribed, so let's at the very least get that percentage above 50. Anyways, with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. Which Pokemon do you think should be the 20th banned Pokemon for the Remix Cup? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so here we have the wheel. Of course, there are so many names on there that you're probably going to struggle to read what they are at the moment, but we've got Shadow Manectric, Shadow Pinsir, and Shadow Palkia for that first team. Now, I don't need to run the Pokemon in the exact order that they get picked, so I'm going to lead with Shadow Palkia. They say swap into a Charm Shadow Alola Ninetales, massive fast move pressure, but of course, we've also got fast move pressure with our Shadow Manectric. We go for one Thunder Fang, fire off the Psychic Fangs here. Psychic Fangs is going to grab a shield, but it also drops the defense, put on them into range where hopefully I can come back in with the Palkia and go for a double resisted Dragon Breath Farm Down. We tank one more charm, which gets us already into the IL range, but we do come out with the Aqua Tail loaded. If they no shield this, I'm gonna look to snipe with the Shadow Pinsir, and the opponent not able to react in time. Fury Cut is double super effective. We get the full farm down, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Diggersby. Now up against most bug type Pokemon, Diggersby is just way too bulky, but Shadow Pinsir does not care about that. We full send a close combat, grabbing the final shield, and now going to look to overfarm, fire off a second close combat before they reach Fire Punch, number 2, and it gets the one shot, and I'm able to take that game. So that was actually the very first battle I did there with that team. So what I know so far, I was thinking, you know what, we're off to a great start. But unfortunately, after that, I think I did lose like 10 battles in a row. So there are going to be a lot of losses. I do revisit most teams here to get a win in the end. So here, we are going to see Shadow Murkrow. And also, I'm not going to include every single battle I did with every single team, as otherwise this video would be like 2 hours long. But anyways, we're going to fire off a Drill Peck. I do overfarm here quite considerably, and we can reach a second Drill Peck. However, Shadow Murkrow will be going down to Dragon Breath damage, so I will swap into my Shadow Banette. Now, of course, I'm definitely going to have to shield this, as the opponent is once again going to full send a Dragon Energy before swapping into Lapras. Now, Shadow Banette, of course, very attack weighted. Can a Shadow Ball get the one shot here? Shadow Ball gets incredibly close to getting the one shot, but just barely missing out there. That is agonizing, because now, unfortunately, whilst I can get a slight energy advantage on my Chandelure, we're not in the best position there. Of course, if I knew it was not going to get the KO, I would have actually undercharged that slightly, maybe looking to get even more farm on the Chandelure, and Shadow Ball does big damage there, but it's just not enough up against the very bulky Clodsire. Yes, we can come back in, get the resisted Incinerate farm down, but Clodsire does have a charge move loaded, and of course, Earthquake easily gets the one shot there, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there into the next battle. I can see Drapion in the lead. So this is a neutral matchup for me. They are just going to go straight for an Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is going to do quite a lot of damage here, but Shadow Murkrow can tank it and now fire off a Drill Peck in return. Drill Peck gets them into range where we can actually snipe with the Incinerate damage from Shadow Chandelure, but the opponent comes in with their own Incinerate user, a Macargo, and things aren't looking too good for me. But I fire off the Shadow Ball on the CMP tie, winning CMP and grabbing a shield. Now here, if I shield, the opponent might actually be able to shield another time and commit to a full Incinerate farm down, but they don't. They once again throw straight away here. Shadow Ball, number 2, grabs the final shield, and at this point I have to let Chandelure go down. Rock Tomb gets the KO there. I'm going to wait out my switch clock just slightly, think about what to do. We come in with Burnett, and the reason they double shielded there, Magcargo, is because they had a Ferrothorn in the back. I'm going to bank a Shadow Ball, swap back into Murkrow, catching a Power Whip there, but of course I do still need to shield anyways. We do get to a Drill Peck, and Drill Peck from this range will be enough to take out the Ferrothorn here. They can come back in with Magcargo, get the full farm down, but as long as I can hit the charge move there, Shadow Ball will be more than enough damage to take out Magcargo, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG to opponent there. Into the next team, we've got Shadow Darmanitan, Shadow Crawdaunt, and a Wug Trio. So heading into the battle, we're going to see Shadow Darmanitan into possibly the best thing we could see in the lead, a Fortress, but they're going to safe swap into Dragonair, and unfortunately for me, this is where things just unfortunately go very south, because I cannot maintain alignment. They go for Wrap there. Wrap is going to debuff my defense there, meaning these Dragon Breaths are dealing huge damage, and Crawdaunt not even going to reach 2 Night Sashes before the opponent fully farms me down, so that is not ideal for me. They also come out with a charge move loaded. Wug Trio going to come in. I can't really afford to shield this, so I do let it go through. Wrap does big damage there. They can get the Dragon Breath farm down. I'm forced to swap out, but they still reach another charge move. Aquatail grabs my final shield. They've got Tyrantrum in the back of all Pokemon, and unfortunately, there's nothing I can do there, so I just concede the match. But GG's to the trainer. Into the next battle, going to see a Greninja in the lead. So, of course, not a great lead matchup for me, but the opponent is going to swap out here into a Gourgeist, which is a very interesting swap. We're going to go for Night Sash. Night Sash grabs a shield, and I can look to throw on CMP here. Night Sash, number 2, gets them very low, but unfortunately they do just barely hang on. The opponent is actually going to go for a Foul Play rather than a Seed Bomb, potentially on Foul Play and maybe Shadow Ball or Fire Blast or something. I don't know. Either way, they come in, they snipe with the Electrode. They're going to swap back into their Greninja, so of course I'm going to shield this, and then I'm going to look to swap into my Wug Trio. So, of course, gonna no-shield this. The opponent full sends a Hydro Cannon there, which does, I believe, the same damage as a Night Sash, but it does cost slightly more energy here. So that's fine with me. They go for another Night Sash. We get the farm down. We come out with a Dig loaded, and I need this to connect here. Dig is gonna be no-shielded. It nearly KOs. It puts them into 1 Incinerate farm down range, meaning they don't reach a charge move, and I'm able to take that game. Into the next spinning of the wheel, we've got Breloom, we've got Shadow Ursaring, and we've got Kartana. So heading into the battle, we're going to see Shadow Ursaring into Meanshao. What the heck is this Pokemon doing here? This is another Pokemon that is on my wheel of 60 glass cannons, and unfortunately for me, it does core break the team here, as I am running an ABB double grass backline, but I've also got 2 Pokemon that are weak to the fighting typing, and with Annihilate and Primate being banned, I didn't expect to see too many fighting types, but of course, that is not a great start for me. I'm going to swap into Kartana. They actually respond with Feraligatr, but it's a non-shadow. If this was a shadow, honestly, I might have been able to fully Razor Leaf farm them down there, but unfortunately, because it is a non-shadow there, we do not get the farm down before they reach a charge move, and despite the fact that, of course, Hydro Cannon is resisted, I was forced to shield there. So at this point, the opponent gonna go for Stone Edge. I baited with a Night Sash, hoping to get an attack boost there. Does not work out for me. We come back in with the Breloom. Seed Bomb is going to deal some okay-ish damage. We do reach a second Seed Bomb. Does this get the KO here? Unfortunately, no, it does not. The opponent will be reaching a last-second charge move, and of course, Stone Edge gets the KO there, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. Now, that was actually the first team I did not get a win with, not because I tried a bunch of times and failed, but because I actually just tried to get a win with other teams more than that, and that kind of wasted time. Eventually, I ran out of battles. But anyways, into next team, we've got Haxorus in the lead, and things go from bad to worse as we're met with a Quagsire. Honestly, you could not see a harder counter to this team so far, but either way, we are going to shield the first move, gonna fire off a Crunch, and we are going to throw on CMP. So Crunch, gonna grab a shield back from the opponent. At this point, we have to let Houndoom go down. Aqua Tail gets the KO there, of course. We can come back in with the Haxorus. And of course, Breaking Swipe now costs so much energy that I actually swapped it out for Night Slash. But Night Slash, non-stab, doesn't do that much damage, considering the Dragon Tails don't add up either. Stone Edge gets the one-shot there. It's all up to Blacephalon. And unfortunately, they barely hang on with 1 HP and a Dream. They reach a last-second Aqua Tail. And to make things worse, they've got another hard counter in the back. They've got Furret. And so I just concede the match. Now into the next battle. We're going to see a 10 CP Noibat in the lead. This opponent clearly tanking intentionally, but you know what? I'm just going to take the win here. I promise there are a lot better wins than this in future battles, but these are in order of when I've spun the wheel there, so I had to include it there. But anyways, into the next team, we've got Shadow Magmortar, we've got Shadow Latios, and we've got Azelf. Now, Shadow Magmortar is honestly looking way too bright on the screen right now. I don't know what's up with that, but either way, we are going to see a Carbink safe swap. That is not a safe swap, but either way, it's kind of safe up against my team here, as it does core break the team. And not only that, Azelf also just really struggling here with the rock throw damage. I'm full sending Future Sight. Future Sight is unfortunately shielded. I don't even reach a Swift there. So at this point, I'm going to come in with my Shadow Latios. Of course, they do have a Furret in the lead, where Furret is going to hit for super effective damage with those sucker punches. So I'm going to shield. They do full send a Moonblast, meaning I can now over farm, look to farm up to over back-to-back Aura Spheres here, and then fire off the charge move. The opponent gonna no shield that. To come back in with the Furret, I can go straight for another Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere number 2 is going to grab the final shield. We swap into Magmortar, but they swap. They make a catch onto Quagsire. Thunderbolt is also resisted damage there. I can reach a Fire Punch, and I actually throw on CMP. Now, I'm going to go for an undercharge. What I'm hoping to do is put them into range, where Shadow Latios can come in, get a farm down, and leave with an Aura Sphere loaded. It's going to be so close, but Latios is unfortunately 1 Dragon Breath away. If I undercharge slightly more than that, we could have come out with that Aura Sphere loaded. And Aura Sphere is super effective. It probably would have got the KO there, I believe, but unfortunately, that did not happen, so we do lose that game. But GG to our trainer into the next battle. Great lead for us, and the opponent's going to safe swap into a Water Gun Lantern. This time, I do have a direct response. We can come in with Shadow Latios. That Surf honestly does more damage than I was expecting. Now here, I'm not sure if Aura Sphere gets the KO, so we full send Last to Purge. They do not respect the damage, and I'm able to maintain alignment, which is amazing for me because they've got a Mud Slap Nidoqueen in the back. We come in with the Azelf, and the opponent also going to overfarm massively here. They full send an Earth Power. I wait there. I was expecting a swap back into Skarmory, but it didn't happen, so we do go for the farm down, and now Shadow Magmortar shining like it was in the first battle. Way too bright for the screen, but either way, we should be able to outpace them to 3 Fire Punches before they can reach back-to-back Sky Attacks. They are going to fire off the first one, but that's fine with us. We can go for another Fire Punch here. Fire Punch going to grab the final shield from the Skarmory. And this is just how much Skarmory has fallen off here. We get to a 3rd Fire Punch, taking out Skarmory, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next team, we've got Shadow Salamence, we've got Shadow Blaziken, and we've got Shadow Duosion. Now, of course, Duosion's evolution, Reuniclus did just get a Community Day, but it learned Charm, which is literally my least favorite fast move, so that's not ideal for it. I would love to see the full Colossus line gain access to, like, Psywave, or at least Rollout or Astonish, or something like that. Just a much more usable fast move than Hidden Power, but at the moment, we're running Hidden Power Electric, I believe. Either way, we're going to stay in this matchup. We're going to catch the next charge move onto my Shadow Blaziken as they go for a foul play. Then I'm going to swap into a second Dark-type Pokemon. It is also worth noting that these battles obviously fairly low elo, and I did lose more battles than I won, so I did continue to drop here, so there are going to be some slightly strange teams that we will be seeing, but either way, we get the full farm down. They come back in with the Umbreon, and I'm going to go for a bait. We're at 100 energy. Brutal Swing is going to be shielded, and now I will full send a Fly. I believe Brutal Swing, non-stab, probably doesn't get the KO, but Fly certainly does, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Serperior. So once again, gonna full send the Fly. Fly is not respected. It gets the one shot, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. You can see Mean Shao, we've got Shadow Stalk, and our final Pokemon is going to be Archeops, which, by the way, is also a Shadow. I don't know why I didn't have these Shadow brackets there, but either way, we're going to lead with the Archeops. We've got a double fighting back line, and unfortunately meeting a Quagsire in the lead. So, whilst I am resisting the fast move damage, obviously Archeops is going to one-shot us. Also, Dragon Claw costing a lot more energy this season, but also dealing huge damage here. Dragon Claw is unfortunately shielded by the Quagsire, so at this point, I have to just let the Archeops go down. Octel will get the KO. Sork is going to be 5 to a body slam, but we get one turn bringing lag, meaning we don't get to the charge move. That is really unfortunate for me. At this point, I'm going to fire for body slam here, expecting the opponent to just let Quagsire go down, but they actually shield. They're committing to a farm down, but we actually reach a second body slam. Now, the fact that they double shielded Quagsire, hopefully Mean Shao has play in the bag, but nope, that is not the case. They're going to have a Wigglytuff, and unfortunately, there's nothing I can do there. So, of course, they fully charm farm me down, and I lose that game. But into the next battle, we're going to see Spice from the opponent there running a Alolan Dugtrio. We're both hitting for resisted fast move damage here, but those Mud Slaps absolutely tearing through my HP. This isn't even a Shadow Dugtrio. I swap out there, I bank a ton of energy, and I'm baiting out a Kanto Ninetales. I'm going straight for Brick Break. Brick Break is going to grab a shield and drop the defense. At this point, of course, I'm going to no shield. Weather Ball doesn't quite get the KO there, but they can Ember farm me down. Now I'm going to wait till that switch shot, come back in with the Archeops, and go straight for an Ancient Power. Throwing on CMP, Ancient Power gets the KO there. The opponent comes back in with the Dugtrio, and I actually can't commit to a full farm down. Instead, I'm forced to swap out there, otherwise they would farm me down, but I do bank an Ancient Power. And their final Pokemon is a Miltank. We do have play here, but if the opponent full sends either a Thunderbolt or an Ice Beam, I probably don't tank it. If they settle for just a Body Slam is not going to get the KO there. We can reach a Body Slam of our own. I've dropped the defense there. Remember, we've also got an Ancient Power loaded, so I snipe with the Shadow Archeops. Ancient Power gets the KO, and one more wing attack gets that fast move farm down up against the Dugtrio, and I'm able to take that game. Now, heading into the next wheel spin, we've got Shadow Haunter, we've got Shadow Dialga, and we've got a level 50 Shadow Ghastly. So, Shadow Dialga in the lead up against Wigglytuff. I'm going to say this right now. I did 3 battles with this team. Every single battle, I saw a Wigglytuff, which, with a Steel type and 2 Poison types, you might think, that's not that bad. But actually, all of my fast move pressure is going to be double resisted up against Wigglytuff. This Pokemon was so frustrating to see. But either way, we're going to shield the Icy Wind here. We are now going to look to overfarm, fire off an Ice Punch. Ice Punch is now debuffed. I could be on Sludge Bomb. So the opponent does use their final shield there. And this is also just going to be a Swift. So Swift, double resisted. We tank it. They swap into a Swampert, but I can reach another Ice Punch. And Ice Punch does get them fairly low. Now at this point, I could come in with the Ghastly, but I'm going to take quite a lot of damage from the Mud Shot. So instead, I chip them with that Dialga, and now the opponent is going to throw, but we do get an extra Astonish in for free there. So Hydro Cannon, going to be shielded. They come back in with the Wigglytuff, and Shadow Ghastly can get the one shot here with a Sludge Bomb, but it just depends what they've got in the back. The opponent going to have more Pekko. Ghastly can't do anything here, unfortunately, and then they will reach a charge move. Psychic Fangs takes out the Ghastly, and I do lose that game. But GG's up on there into the next battle. You can see a Como-O in the lead now. It was very tempting to swap out and try and catch an upper hand onto one of my back Pokemon, as it is going to be triple resisted, but actually doesn't really help me that much. So I'm going to stay in, just shield once, go for the full farm down, and what a surprise, they've got another Wigglytuff. So I go for the Iron Head. Iron Head is going to be shielded. They swap into Drapion, so I respond with my Shadow Haunter. Now, of course, Crunch going to hit for super effective. That would very comfortably one-shot us, but we are double resisting the Poison Sting damage. I can fire off an Ice Punch on the CMP tie, and I'm able to grab the final shield there. So at this point, of course, the opponent will be firing off another Crunch, getting the KO there. I can come in with my Shadow Dialga, however, and I am very close to the Iron Head. Iron Head will be getting the KO. I go for an undercharge there. It still gets the KO anyways. We come in with the Ghastly, and Ghastly able to reach a Sludge Bomb on the CMP tie. The opponent must have had one turn bringing lag there, but I'm not going to complain. Sludge Bomb gets the one shot, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle, we've got Shadow Vikavolt, we've got Attack Von Deoxys, and we've got Shadow Alakazam. So Vikavolt leading into Jellicent, this is the dream lead matchup for us, and definitely where we need to see it with this team. The opponent also staying in, so clearly core broken by the Vikavolt. At this point, I'm going to shield the first charge move as they fire off a Surf. I'm going to farm to back-to-back X-Scissors, and even though it's resisted from this range, the Volt Switch damage has seriously added up already. We can just settle for another X-Scissor. The opponent going for the over farm here, double shielding, but then going for an extra Hex, and as a result, we get the full farm down. But then something really strange happened here. Firstly, this double doesn't have a typing icon in the top right-hand corner, but also you will see when I fire off this Fire Punch here, it just looks really odd, and it was very strange for me. Fire Punch doesn't do damage, and then it does do damage, and then we get the full farm down there. But either way, their final Pokemon gonna be a Tentacruel, and Shadow Alakazam will be sweeping this game. Unfortunately, Attack from Deoxys literally did not even see the field of play there, but I'm able to take that game. Now, into the next battle, we've got Shadow Excadrill, we've got Archon, once again, that will be a Shadow, I don't know why I don't have the Shadow in brackets, and then Staraptor as the third Pokemon. Here, I'm going to lead with the Shadow Excadrill, of course, having a double flying backline. The opponent's going to safe swap into a Shadow Claw Giratina, which is okay for me, however, they will be on Ancient Power, so Ancient Power, going to hit for super effective damage there, so I will be needing to respect it, but of course, their fast move pressure is double resisted, although my Sand Attack's also not really adding up that much. We do get them into the yellow health range, but I will never fast move farm them down here. So they go for another Ancient Power as well. They are slightly ahead on energy, so they will always outpace me to each charge move. So now I'm actually going to swap, catch the next Ancient Power where it's double resisted onto my Shadow Excadrill. Now the opponent actually gets the boost there, but they're forced to swap out as we would get the mods that farm down. And unfortunately for them, Shadow Excadrill completely core breaks their team. Rock Slide gets the one shot there to come back in with Giratina. Unfortunately, I will get the full farm down, and we come out with a drill run loaded. So Galarian Weezing is going to be straight in and straight out. We get the one shot. Shout out to Jamie Finn for that quote, and I'm able to take that game. Now into the next battle, we're going to have a Shadow Kadabra, we're going to have Shadow Magnemite, another XL Pokemon, and Hisuian Zoroark. So Magnemite in the lead up against a Mandibuzz, you can't ask for much better than that, but they say swap into a Mudslap Nidoqueen, just one Mudslap, did like 30% of our HP. I'm coming in with my Shadow Kadabra, and I am just barely able to Confusion Farm them down, but I come out with a Dazzling Gleam loaded. Now if they don't shield this, Dazzling Gleam does insane damage, it actually puts them into Volt Switch farm down range before they even reach a Foul Play there or an Aerial Ace, but they come in with Skeledirge. Now I threw straight away there as I recognized they probably have a good answer to the Magnemite in the back, but actually I should have gone for one Volt Switch first, and now they go for Torch Song. You can see that these Incinerates are actually going to two-shot me here. I need damage registration error, otherwise unfortunately they get the full farm down, and you can see their HP. I wasn't even looking at the damage I was dealing with the fast moves. Maybe if I didn't throw a charge move there, maybe I could have just gone for a full farm down and I could have taken that game, but unfortunately we do lose that one. But GG's to that trainer. Into the next battle, we're going to see another great lead for the Magnemite. They say swap into a Bug Bite Fortress, so I'm going to go for a Discharge and then swap into my Zoroark. Zoroark is going to also resist the Bug Bite damage, but here I will definitely shield up a Rock Tomb. I'm now going to look to overfarm here, go for a Foul Play. Foul Play is non-stab and it has just been debuffed, so Foul Play does not get the KO, but I can still commit to a farm down. Now of course I've only got resisted moves to throw, I'm also debuffed, but Zoroark just doesn't care. Shadow Ball, insane damage. We actually come in, we snipe with the Magnemite, and they do have a Swampert in the back, but Magnemite just barely hanging on with 1 HP and a Dream. Magnet Bomb gets no shielded, and that is really important for me because now we can just come in with Shadow Kadabra and they will not be reaching 2 charge moves, meaning I can just safely shield up the first Hydro Cannon, and of course Confusion damage will register, it will get the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's up on there into the next battle, and we're going to have Shadow Magneton this time around, as well as Inteleon and Galarian Darmanitan. So heading into the battle, Magneton into Furret, so not the best thing for me, but I do resist the charge moves, so unless they're running Brick Break, which honestly I wouldn't be surprised if they go for a Brick Break here, but either way, I can afford to no-shield this, and I probably should because I have 2 Pokemon in the back that will definitely well, they'd very much appreciate having shields still in play. So we're going to come in with Darmanitan. The opponent is going to bank a ton of energy before swapping into Shadow Fortress. Now, Galarian Darmanitan does actually have access to Overheat. Unfortunately, I've just got Superpower, but that still does insane damage. Unfortunately, doesn't quite put them into farm down range, but I can reach an Ice Punch, and I do grab the final shield. Now here we might as well come in with the Magneton, force them to throw their energy. The opponent is going to go straight for a Rock Tomb. Now we can go for the Water Gun farm down. It's a 2-shielded Inteleon against the world. And unfortunately, they've got a Wigglytuff, my least favorite Pokemon. They come back in with the Furret. They are absolutely loaded on energy. They can go straight for Trail Blaze. Trail Blaze boosting up their attack stat, dealing just way too much damage here. I'm firing off the Surf, but Surf unfortunately will not be enough damage to get the KO. But the opponent does throw a charge move here. This gives me a lifeline. I'm 2 away from the next move here. But we don't get it off. We don't get damage registration error there. And unfortunately, I do lose that game. Next up, we've got Shadow Moltres, which is the Kanto version. We've got Shadow Haunchcrow and Shadow Liepard. So here, we're going to lead into Feraligatr. I believe Liepard is going to be on Charm. This is, obviously, I've mentioned this in the video already, my least favorite fast move, but honestly, this thing is basically unusable with Snarl. However, it does take a very long time to get the charge moves here. We can just barely reach a Dark Pulse before the opponent does get to another Hydro Cannon. So at this point, I will be letting Liepard go down, come in with the Haunchcrow. Unfortunately, I don't really get that much farm as we do come in. We only get off 2 pecks there, but they come in with a Clodsire. Now, I'm throwing a Brave Bird here. Brave Bird is going to one-shot the Clodsire there, but they come in with a Jellicent, and I make a huge mistake. I swap out immediately just to clear the debuff, but now we are in trouble. The opponent is actually going to go for an Ice Beam, though. If they're on Surf, I think we just lose this game. But Ice Beam does, of course, cost more energy, meaning I can reach the Sky Attack, and the opponent has to throw straight away here. Otherwise, I will reach yet another Sky Attack. So Ice Beam gets the KO, but now Haunchcrow can come back in, and we can just barely outpace them to the next charge move. Dark Pulse gets the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle. We've got Shadow Sharpedo, we've got Shadow Weavile, and the final Pokemon, Shadow Absol. So, what on earth is this team? Triple Shadow Dark types. We're leading into a Shadow Kanto Ninetales. Now, Absol will outpace basically everything apart from this Pokemon, unfortunately. So the opponent will be firing off that Weather Ball straight away. I'm going to go for one more Snarl, fire off a Brutal Swing, go for one more Snarl, and then I will actually look to catch the next Weather Ball onto my Shadow Sharpedo. But not only that, I get a Waterfall through as I make the swap there, which is going to do big damage. We don't see exactly how much damage it did, but they come in with a Shadow Steelix on Thunderfang. We're going to come in with the Weaver, of course. I'm not going to have too much play up against that Ninetales. I'm going to no-shield the first move here. I kind of do need to no-shield this, and luckily for me, it is just a Psychic Fangs bait. Now here, I'm going to go straight for the Avalanche. I don't expect a shield. Avalanche gets the KO there. I swap back into my Absol, and because I did have a one-turn swap there, I fire off 2 Snarls, and then go for a Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing grabs the final shield. The opponent recognizing they can't quite farm down, so they swap, they make the catch, but they catch onto Shadow Feraligatr, and that is huge for me. We've put them into range where potentially, especially if they throw on bad timing here, I can get a full Snarl farmed out, and not only will I have an Avalanche, I've got a Focus Blast loaded. So you know what, we might as well full send it. Avalanche would have got the KO, but Focus Blast is much more satisfying, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's top end there, into the next team. We've got Regieleki, we've got Shadow Cacturn, and the final pick for this team is going to be Shadow Hitmonlee. So heading into battle, we're going to see Regieleki into a Shadow Probopass. What on earth is this thing? Well, of course, Bastiodon is going to be banned for this cup, so the opponent resorting to running a Rock Throw Shadow Probopass. Fair enough, we're going to come in, we've debuffed that defense there, we get off 2 double kicks, and that does insane damage. We are going to go for a Blaze Kick here, expecting a shield. They actually don't shield. That nearly KOs, but it doesn't quite, and also I can't quite farm them down either, so go for a second Blaze Kick there. They're going to come in with Claydol. Honestly, don't understand why they didn't just come in with the Claydol straight away, but now we can align a Shadow Cacturn. Of course, going to need to shield this anyways. The opponent likely going to go for a Rock Tomb, then dip back into the Probopass. I'm able to swap out, make the catch there. Rock Slide gets the KO. We can come back in with the Shadow Cacturn, and I might as well boost up my attack stat straight away. Either I get the KO or I grab the final shield. We get the full Sucker Punch farm down, and the opponent will not be able to mudge that farm me down before I reach a second Trailblaze, which of course, already boosted, takes out the Claydol, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up in their next battle, we're going to have Shadow Drillbur, Hisuian Zorua, another level 50 Pokemon, and Shadow Rampardos. Now, spoiler alert, this is the team that took me the most battles to get a win with, and is the reason why I didn't quite get a win with every single team, because I was determined to win with this team, but unfortunately it meant I ran out of battles. But anyways, we are going to see a Diggersby safe swap here. Honestly, Florges has a fine matchup into Shadow Drillbur there, so I don't really know why they swapped out, but either way, I can reach a second Drill Run, and Drill Run is going to connect. It does big damage there, but here what I should have done is actually not thrown the Mud Slap. Instead, Fire Punch doesn't quite KO there. If I didn't throw the Mud Slap, I could have swapped out, got an energy advantage with my Zorua as I gone for a full Snarl farm down. But now they come in, they get the snipe with Salazzle, and here what I think I should have done is come in with my Drillbur, get off a single Mud Slap, and then potentially, if the opponent tries to go for one extra Incinerate, Rampardos just goes for a full farm down there. But unfortunately, they get off the Poison Fang. I'm going to look to try and make a catch onto my Drillbur. It does not work out. We do have a Rock Slide loaded, but the opponent still has a shield. So honestly, don't know why I'm wasting their time there. Of course, they're going to use the shield. They can go for Chilling Water. Chilling Water easily takes out Shadow Rampardos. And unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on their next battle, not a great lead matchup for me, but I've got two great answers in the back, or at least I thought they were great. You can see Hisuian Zorua, this Pokemon has a net resistance to the Ghost typing, and yet look at the damage we're taking from Astonishes. Honestly, they can double shield and then commit to a massive farm down there. Also, Snarls are non-stab there. They don't even take that much damage from my fast move, but we're going to come in with the Shadow Rampardos. I'm going to shield the first move. The opponent actually going to go for a Mystical Fire there, which means hopefully this is just another Mystical Fire. Rampardos can't tank much, but I will tank a Mystical Fire. I swap into Clodsire, and the opponent is just going to throw straight away. This is just a Sludge Bomb. I can no shield, but no, it's a Water Pulse. Are you kidding me? Who runs Water Pulse on Clodsire, man? Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. And by the way, this is not even my second battle. This is like my 5th or 6th battle with this team. Still no win, and unfortunately they come in with a Jump Luff, and I end up losing that game there. But GG to that trainer, and by the way, in this next battle, you can see I enter with the same team, but the game decides, you know what, instead, let's just have a Porygon 2, a Teddiursa, and a Klinklang. Like, what the heck is this? It doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to include the whole battle because it's irrelevant, but that just really pissed me off there. Already having a rough time with this team, and then the game decides, you know what, even though you actually would have been really good into Armarouge, maybe let's just give you like the most random team you've ever seen. So anyways, into the next battle here, we are going to see a safe swap into a Bomber Snow. I can swap into Rampardos after debuffing their attack there, and the opponent will fire off a charge move. The opponent is going to full send an Energy Ball. They did not need to do that. Definitely double Weather Ball there would have got the KO, but now they come in with another Clodsire. We're going to go straight for Flamethrower. Flamethrower is going to connect there. Of course, I don't have any shields in play anymore, so the opponent will be firing off the charge move, but they're going to full send an Earthquake, which means hopefully I can commit to a full Mud Slap farm down, and Drillbur gets that farm down there. And because they full send an Acrobatics, it's very unlikely that they've also got Aerial Ace, meaning I can go for a Drill Run there. I can still outpace them to the next charge move, and despite the fact this is resisted damage, Drill Run will be enough to take out Emolga, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Electivire, we're going to see a Shadow Alolan trio, and we're going to see a Pheromosa. So heading into the battle, Electivire into Shadow Malamar. Of course, I've got Pheromosa in the bag, so I do want to eventually try and align it to my Pheromosa, but we might as well just stay in. Full send a Wild Charge here. Wild Charge is going to be shielded. I swap, and oh my gosh, can you see the damage there from those Bug Bites? I'm definitely going to shield this. They fire off the Foul Play, but likewise, a single Incinerate gets the full farm down. What on earth is this battle so far? But it just keeps getting more insane as we get the full Mud Slap farm down. Oh my goodness, have you ever seen a battle quite like this in the Go Battle League? I can guarantee not. Either way, we fire off the Mud Bomb here, but unfortunately, their Switch Clock will be coming up very soon. I can't remember how healthy the Malamar is, but I need to farm them down, and unfortunately, that's not going to happen there. They get the farm down, they come out with a Charge Move loaded. I needed to get the farm down there as I needed a Wild Charge to take out for Alligator, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's, that was an absolutely insane battle. Into next battle, we're going to see a Drapion in the lead. So same play, I'm actually just going to go straight for a wild charge here. Either they shield this up, and I will just let it go down, or the opponent, no shield, wild charge, gets the one shot, but they're going to come in with a Quagsire. So of course, I am going to be double weak to ground here. Not ideal for me, but I didn't pick the team myself, so not a lot I can do about that. I'm swapping into Dugtrio, going for a Mud Bomb after using a shield, and the opponent is going to overfarm just slightly here. I'm hoping I've still put them into range where I can Bug Bite farm them down, but let's see. We are going to wait out the switch clock, come in with the Pheromosa. The opponent is going to swamp out, but they do have a second ground type, but they end up over farming. Huge for me. We get to Lunge on the CMB tie. Lunge, gonna drop their attack there, and I believe I just saved my final shield for the Shadow Electivire. We're going to come in with the Electivire. Looks like we do get one turn bring in lag, but actually it was okay as we do get the Thundershock through. The opponent fires off the Icicle Spear. All I need to do is farm up to back-to-back Ice Punch. An Ice Punch should be enough damage to take out the Shadow Piloswine, and one more Ice Punch will be enough damage to take out the Quagsire from this range, and Shadow Electivire beating 2 ground-type Pokemon to take that game. So, GG to the opponent there. Into next team, we've got Nargonadel, we've got Shadow Sneasler, and we've got Shadow Excelgor. So, heading into the battle, we're going to see Shadow Sneasler into Shadow Hypno. Are you kidding me? Shadow Sneasler, by the way, is going to be double weak to the Psychic typing there. So, I'm forced to swap out, and unfortunately, if they swap out here, even if I do flip switch advantage, I'm going to lose this game, but they do swap into Steelix, and you know what? We've got Focus Blast. Focus Blast gets the one shot there. That was so satisfying. We are going to lose this game, but at least we did land the Focus Blast there. The opponent going to come in with a Greninja, and yeah, there's just not a lot I can do here. They just saved both their shields for the Hypno, so I'm not going to bother wasting their time. Hydro Cannon gets the KO there. I will just be conceding the match with Nargonadel, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there. Into the next battle, we're going to see Nargonadel in the lead this time around up against Typhlosion, and this time I'm running Fell Stinger instead of Acrobatics because, well, Dragon Claw used to be 35 energy, so that was the play, but now, of course, we don't have a really cheap energy Dragon-type move, so I might as well run Fell Stinger, boost up my attack stat. They go for a Chilling Water there, which means I should tank the next charge move, not super comfortably, but I should tank it nonetheless, and the opponent's actually going to go for a Trailblaze there, which is double resisted. I don't really understand that play. However, I'm not going to bother complaining about it. Dragon Claw does big damage. I swap into Excelgor. The opponent is going to bank a charge move, swap back into Typhlosion, but I do reach a Bug Buzz. Bug Buzz, gonna grab the final shield from Typhlosion. And I should be okay here. The opponent, I believe, is one away from back-to-back Thunder Punches, but surely I can tank at least one Thunder Punch. I'm going to shield the first one just in case they full send a Blast Burn. I should now be able to commit to a full Shadow Claw farm down, come out with the Close Combat loaded, but no, Thunder Punch actually takes me out there, and I am not going to reach another charge move. They already have the Swift loaded. Swift will be taking out Nargonadel, and unfortunately, this is another team that I did not manage to get a win with. But into the final team here, we are going to see Shadow Mewtwo, Shadow Gengar, and regular Zoroark. So into the first battle, we're going to see Shadow Gengar into Shadow Feraligatr. Not ideal for me, as of course they can just commit one shield and go for a full Shadow Claw farm down. However, Shadow Punch, not going to be respected. It actually gets the KO there. That is insane damage. And now they come in with a Fury Cutter Gligar. Fury Cutter, by the way, is double resisted by the Ghost and Poison typing. So I don't think they can quite commit to a full farm down. They are forced to throw. The opponent is going to go for a Night Slash there, which isn't ideal. I'm going to come in with Zoroark, but then I realize I brought in the wrong Zoroark. I've got Flamethrower and Sludge Bomb here. I do not have Foul Play, which is the preferred moveset. And I believe this is because when I was trying to use Zoroark most recently, I couldn't get Foul Play, so I actually ended up just building a completely new one because I ran out of charge DMs. But either way, Night Slash gets the KO. It's all up to Shadow Mewtwo. And at this point, I don't really know how much they've overfarmed by, so actually, Shadow Mewtwo, I'm not going to overfarm. I'm just hoping that I can outpace and nuke whatever's in the back. Side Strike gets the KO, and here is a Clodsire. Clodsire, of course, is weak to the Psychic typing. I throw on CMP, and Side Strike actually does not get the one-shot. Mewtwo, that is so disappointing. Sludge Bomb gets the KO there, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's to opponent there into the final battle of this video. We're going to leave Shadow Gengar into Jumpluff. So we are on Sludge Bomb for coverage, and I will be throwing straight away. The opponent doesn't make a catch there. Sludge Bomb coming through, gets the one shot. They're going to come in with a Jellicent, so I'm going to go straight for a Shadow Punch. Now, after this does grab a shield, I'm actually going to swap into my Zoroark, this time on Foul Play. However, unfortunately, we see a Poliwrath where it would have been nice if we had coverage with that Sludge Bomb. But either way, Foul Play is going to be no shielded. It doesn't do much damage there. I don't know if Foul Play or Flamethrower does more damage. Of course, Foul Play is stab, but it's not the hardest hitting move these days. We come in with Shadow Mewtwo. Unfortunately, these Psycho Cuts, they just don't really add up that much, and especially now that they debuff me with an Icy Wind, I'm going to swap into Gengar. I believe the Jellicent does have a charge reloaded, so I don't actually throw there. Instead, we come back in with the Mewtwo. I'm going to go for one more Psycho Cut there, go for the Side Strike. Side Strike grabs the final shield, and if they're at back-to-back, we will be losing this game, but if they don't have the energy for two Surfs, then Mewtwo will be outpacing them to the next charge move, and of course, Side Strike will be taking out the Jellicent, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.